There we are, folks. Just a couple of minutes late tonight, but we're here and we got a good show for Orange and Blue Blood Thursdays. You know what that means? We got a lot of Gators on here tonight. Some you won't want to miss. So join the program right now and tell your friends and neighbors the Buddy Martin Show is on the air here on YouTube and on Facebook Live.
Yes, it's time again for Buddy Martin. Call him up and tell him what you're thinking. But be kind because he's doing the best he can.
Better, stronger, faster.
Mama says that alligators are ornery because they got all them teeth but no toothbrush.
Hey, what if the voice calls while you're gone?
Take a message.
Bye.
Ready, champ? I'm ready for this my whole life.
I'm incapable of small talk. But that's why you love me, right?
Kind of intimidating to be in the presence of so many great athletes.
Good evening and welcome to the program. I don't know why it was such a scramble tonight, but it was. We're here. Chris Doering will join us shortly. It's going to be a good program tonight. We're kind of thinking about maybe making this show more from homers, okay? Now, you can interpret that term any way you want to. It used to be a badge of dishonor in journalism, being a homer. Fact is, we all know that everybody leans toward one way or the other. And this show, particularly on Thursday nights, we lean toward the orange and blue. That's what it's called, Orange and Blue Blood Thursdays. Tonight's lineup is going to be Chris Doering. He's got some explaining to do, by the way, because he picked almost an all-Gator offensive unit for the SEC East all time. Remember, the SEC East hasn't been around forever. It's about to go away. But you know what? I think he can justify it, and we'll ask him to explain it. I saw it on a couple of times on ESPN, SEC Network, and I like it. So we'll talk about that. Troupe has always got something to say. He'll be in the house with his big hat, and he'll tell us some of the great players he played with, just like Chris did. Franz Beard didn't play with anybody great, unless you count one of us. He was a writer in his. He'll tell you about the times he wrote about the great players, including Chris Doering. And, of course, the coach, Loren Meadows, join us all tonight right here on this stage, folks. I mean, where do you get that kind of stuff? Not any place I know of. And glad to be with you tonight as well, right here on our new YouTube channel, which is growing like crazy, by the way, and keep them coming. Come on now and join up and go to YouTube, The Buddy Martin Show, and hit subscribe. It's free. It's just going to be an easier, cleaner way to get to you instead of putting up with some of the issues we've had in the past with Facebook. So do it now and tell your friends and neighbors. We've got some great shows planned for you. We're going to expand it. Coming up with a Best Fridays in Football with Urban Meyer soon. So this is a packed lineup, and we go right to it right now. This program brought to you by Titan MRI. Titan MRI is worth a short drive to Gainesville. No insurance, no problem. You can pay with cash or card with the same-day scheduling available. Start feeling better today. Titan MRI is North Central Florida's premier independent MRI facility. Come see why hundreds of patients are visiting our Gainesville location from Ocala, Marion County, and the villages. That's TitanMRI.com. Right to the orange and blue room to talk to the man who, by the way, Steve Spurrier says could also be on the all-time SEC East team, Chris Doering. Good evening, Chris.
Hey, buddy. How are you, man?
Very good, man. Good to see you again. And you just finished dinner. Thanks for hustling through it. I
smashed my my Chipotle for you there, man.
I'm sorry. I should have given you a little longer. As it turned out, I was
down my milk.
Well, go ahead and finish up. Get your food and bring it on. I appreciate you doing that, and we don't get you on very often. We want to maximize the time we got with you. So let's get right to it. I rewatched the segment that you did with Alyssa on the all-time SEC East offense. Then I heard your friend Matt Stinchcomb give his defense. Have you seen that yet?
I haven't seen the defense yet. How did that look?
Well, it was actually pretty fair. He had several Gators on there, and I'll see if you agree with him. But so let's get to your part first. You were asked to pick the all-time SEC East, right?
In the midst of the final season of divisions, which makes me a little sad, to be honest with you, buddy. Having been part of that first year of that 92. But we're celebrating what will be, I guess, 31 years in the book now. It'll be 32 after this season. But the all-time best players in the East to have played in those divisions since 92. Didn't give me the individual offensive line options, which Matt Stinchcomb was a little upset about.
Yes, he was. He mentioned that. Yes,
groups.
he did.
He did? Okay. Yeah, but I'll tell you this. It's a tough task, buddy. And in all seriousness, man, there's a lot of very worthy people that were options that could have been on there. But you go back and look, that many years of some of the best years of SEC football, where there's a ton of national championships over that 3-decade plus period. A lot of good players to choose from.
Yeah, so go over your list. You had 3 I know of. Well, if you had the whole offensive line of 95, you got to explain that, because you had a great team in 95, really. I mean, you didn't end well, but, I mean, it was a terrific team.
Buddy, I'm going to say this, and I've said this on your show before. Our 95 team was better than the 96 national championship team, better than the 2006 national championship team, and better than the 08 championship team. The problem was we ran into the best team probably in the history of college football in that Nebraska Cornhusker team.
Brutal.
But we're the only school, only a team in Florida history to go undefeated in the regular season and win the SEC championship game. So none of those other 3 teams can claim that. But the reason I went with that offensive line, Reggie Green, Jason Odom, both started since they were true freshmen, 4-year starters there. Mo Collins, who was a first-round draft pick. Donnie Young, who we know was just an absolute natural freak, and then Jeff Mitchell, who went on to have a great NFL career too. So really, really good group. But in that period of time, are there better offensive lines that you can think of in the East? I think there's probably some in the West that I could name, but I don't know if there's one better in the East. So I defer to my guys.
Yeah, some people would say '84 Great Wall would go. They were primarily a run block team.
Yeah, but that was not this was since '92 with the
that's
SEC
true.
East.
You weren't in the SEC.
Started, so.
Correct. You are correct.
Yeah.
I wanted to say that those 2 freshman tackles, those 2 guys started as freshmen. They started against FSU in '96 as freshmen because they had injuries, right? And
who are you talking about? In what year?
'96.
No, they started in the '92. They started in '92.
I meant '92. Yeah, okay, but they played. Let's see. Well, Florida had 2 freshman tackles in that '96 game. The first one they lost in Tallahassee. I can't remember who they were, but anyway, that's not important. All right, so now, have you gotten any guff about all these Gators?
Oh yeah, sure. I don't. Yeah, just to go over the rest of them, I had Ike Hilliard as one of my receivers, Jordan Matthews as the other from Vanderbilt. Had Garrison Hurst and. I went blank on the other Georgia running back that I had on there. The recent one, Nick Chubb, had Nick Chubb on there. And then quarterbacks, I went with Brock Bowers at the tight end, who I don't think people can argue with what he's been able to do. And then
100% on him, 100%.
Yeah, quarterback, they gave me a starting quarterback and then a bench quarterback. So I went with my guy Danny Warfel as the starter and Tim Tebow as the bench player. Now, I think it's a flavor favorite. If who you like better, Tim or Danny? Danny was Tebow before Tebow was Tebow. I mean, Tebow grew up wanting to idolize, wanting to be like Danny. So had Danny had the social media around that Tebow did, Danny probably would have been as famous as Tebow was, but. Nonetheless, that's splitting hairs between those 2. I don't even know how you could argue that. I've heard a lot of Tennessee people complain about Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning didn't win a national championship. He didn't win a Heisman Trophy. He went 0-3 against the Gators. So I don't know how you can put him ahead of either of those 2 guys.
Well, certainly I saw them both play every game they played. And without Danny, there'd be no Tebow. I mean, he's primarily the influence that got him to Florida. He was going to go to Alabama, by the way. Just about did. But anyway, and here's the thing people are saying on here. When I told your old coach, By the way, he's in Alaska on a cruise. Okay,
Yeah.
I got him on a cruise in Alaska. How's that for a guy returning calls? And we're talking about this. Liz, he said, "What's going on?" I told him about your picks for the SEC, all SECs. And his comment was, "Well, Chris could have put himself on there. You certainly had the numbers, dude. You had the numbers, and you did."
Buddy, I made the comment on the show the other night. Like, I could have made that whole receiving core. I mean, between Quez and Riddell and Ike and, Travis, I think, still holds the single season record.
Yeah, Spurrier brought Travis up, too, just so you know.
Yeah. So that was – in my 9 years in the NFL, I never had a receiving core that was as deep with talent as the one that I played with at Florida my senior year.
I think if you had to pick a group of receivers in the SEC – you'd be hard-pressed to have better than that.
No, none that I can name of. From top to bottom, your top five?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Yeah. So what do you hear out of Gainesville? I know you have good sources there, and we know there's been a lot of negativity. SEC Media Days, Florida was kind of picked as one of the also-rans behind South Carolina, and I think they were at Vanderbilt, Missouri. That was about it in the SEC East. We get why. We know why. We understand why. And I'm not saying they're going to struggle, because they will. But I don't know what you get out of this, but what I've heard and seen so far in the last couple of months from the players and coaches, there's something going on in Gainesville, Chris.
Yeah, there's a level of confidence. I think getting a chance to talk to those guys in Nashville during media days a couple weeks ago, you got this feeling of being confident in what they're doing. You and I both talked to Shane a lot, and he thinks really highly of Graham Mertz and what he can do in this offense. There's nobody that cheers for this team more than I do. I'm a huge Gator fan, want them to win every single game. I have a hard time seeing it from what I saw last year and what I saw in the spring. I'm going to need to see it first. I haven't been out to practice yet. I'm going to try to get out there here soon. But, I'm a little skeptical, particularly with the schedule that Florida plays this year. Now, I've said this to you since I was out there in the spring. Austin Armstrong is an absolute star. The defense is going to be much improved, not solely because of him. I love Patrick Toney. He's my guy. And I think even PT would tell you that the depth chart on that side of the ball is much better shape than when he took it over last year. But, I'm excited about what Coach Armstrong brings. Excited about Cam Jackson. The defensive line is starting to look more like what you need in the SEC. So I do see improvement on that side. I'm just, to me, it all comes down to quarterback play. Most important position, all of sports, and how much are they going to be able to get out of that position this year?
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna help you out. Okay, I'm gonna give you a little bit of intel. You can use this, and you will look pretty good if you do. And when you do, I want you to say, "Buddy Martin told me this a long time ago."
Okay.
Here's why you got to start thinking a little differently. They've got a group of receivers, freshmen particularly, really good. Wilson, Andy Jean, Hayden Mizell. Plus, there's a kid on the name of Jaquavion Frazier's, who's tall, who's bulked up some. He's got good hands. He's smart. He's another kid. That's why I know him. And I've seen a couple of videos of him. He looks like he's there. And of course, Ricky Pearsall, who got him. Their receivers look pretty good, and they got Billy Gonzalez. And Chris, you know what that means.
Yeah.
There's nobody better at training wide receivers. In the SEC, I put him among the tops in the country than Billy G. Okay? So mark that.
I love Billy. Yeah, Billy's my guy. But, here's the thing. People often ask me about playing receiver, and I said, or why I played receiver and not quarterback. As a receiver, you got control. Like, the ball gets anywhere near me, I'm going to make a play. I'm going to get a chance to finish it. Quarterback, you can throw a great ball. If the guy doesn't catch it, then, it's a long foul ball. But I would say that, I worry about the distribution of the football. Like, a lot of the same receivers, I know the freshmen there are new, but there's some guys that are back last year that didn't get to play as big of a role because we didn't distribute the football as well as we probably could have and should have.
I'm going to put you at rest a little bit there, too. And you, again, mark out the date I told you this, okay? Listen to what I'm telling you. Now, you're my guy. I've known you. I love you. Think you're great. But you got to pay attention here, all this. I'm telling you, you got to watch it because what do you do when you don't know about a guy? You go out and you start talking to people and you start researching and asking people you respect, what does he look like? Let me give you two things. You know what Shane thinks.
Mm-hmm.
Shane thinks a lot of Graham Mertz. He thinks he's going to be just, quote unquote, just fine. And think about where he almost went to school, Alabama. You know, why did Nick want him to come to Alabama? And Urban Meyer wanted him at Ohio State. And I talked to Urban on the show here a couple of weeks ago, and I asked him, I've said this, my listeners are getting tired of hearing this, but I'm going to tell you, because we don't see each other very often. I said, okay, what's the deal with Graham Mertz? And he said, well, I recruited him, and I like him a lot. And I said, what do you like? He's smart. He's a good passer. He's a terrific leader, and I really wanted him at Ohio State. I said, so what happened to him at Wisconsin, which is what you were going to bring up next, right? He said, that's a great question. I asked Paul Chris that question, his coach, right? What would happen to Graham Mertz up there? And he said to me, he didn't have a very good surrounding cast. All right. Now, mark that down. I'm just telling you, all right? Now, the reports I get back from practice, the guy is a baller. He works out like crazy. He did 2 a days before he started. He's leading other players. They really like him as a player. Now, is he going to be all world or else? No, probably not. But Chris, what has he got to do? Get the guy in the open and throw him the football. We've had some quarterbacks at Florida that didn't have great arms and did pretty well. So I don't think Mertz's arm is that bad. I'll be honest with you. I haven't seen the guy under pressure, so I can't tell you what he looks like. I'm just giving you what I found out and I know, and he's got some playmakers on offense. And by the way, he's going to run the ball anyway. He's got the offensive line, and he's got the running backs, and they're going to run the football. And once they run the football,
I agree. That's the style of play you're going to play. You're going to play to the strength of your team, which I think will be the offensive line and that running back group, and then play great defense. So, forgive my skepticism. You're being honest. That's okay. You're not being skeptical. It's okay. Yeah, I don't think it was not only a great supporting cast at Wisconsin, but the offensive system, didn't lend for a whole lot of what his skill set probably brings, which is the football IQ that you talk about, getting him into different plays at the line of scrimmage, which just about every play that Florida runs has a tag on it that can be adjusted at the line. So I'm with you there. But you talk about great quarterback play with guys that hadn't had great arms at Florida. Like, it's just been so long, without Kyle Trask in that mix, that run of quarterbacks since Tebow. Like, I forget what a good quarterback at Florida looks like if not for Kyle Trask.
How about this guy? You think he's seen a couple of good quarterbacks at Florida?
Oh, I know for sure that guy has. What up, man?
What's up, CD, man? What's going on with you, man?
Nothing, man. Good to see you, bro.
Man, always good to see you. I think you said it right, though. I mean, I think when it comes to a guy like Graham, we've seen some greatness at the quarterback position in the SEC, and we think that's what it takes to win, right? No. I mean, not to give this guy any credit, but Stetson Bennett show you what happened when you got a guy that takes control of the offense, and they had an okay running game. I'm not comparing Florida to Georgia, but Graham Mertz made a business decision coming out of high school because he saw the other quarterback depth charts at these other schools. I mean, I was going to go to Florida no matter what, but Georgia had a very, very crowded tight end room when I was coming out. I mean, Jarvis Johnson and Ben Watson and Brandon McMichael. These guys were pretty good. And I think when it comes to Graham Mertz is we act like Billy Napier didn't call his phone. Hey, man, what's going on, Graham? And at the end of the day is how many people don't come to a Florida because they see how much pressure it is to perform there. And I'm not even going to talk about the kid that was supposed to go to Florida, went to Ole Miss. That's how much pressure it is. And no matter what, the first thing Billy Napier had to tell Graham was, you don't got to be Anthony. We're not going to do that to you because that guy was just a different type of animal. But efficiency at the quarterback position going to win you more games than athleticism ever will. Bunch of guys athletic, right? Got big arms. I think what Graham is, he says, man, I got to run a game. I don't have to win the game, right? I just can't lose the game. That's it. And that's all quarterback. Look, I get in debates all the time. Who's the greatest quarterback ever come through Florida, right? Because people going to say, it's Tebow. They're going to say, it's Tebow. And I get it with the numbers. You cannot play the quarterback position better than Danny. You just can't. I don't care how you feel about it. And Chris knows this. You can't. It's the way he played, not that he played. But without Shane Matthews, it never happens because Steve Spurrier had an offense that he had to have a guy that could show this thing can work. So Shane is the godfather. Danny saw Shane and said, "Okay, give me Ike, Riedel, this bum named Chris Doering, Travis McGree." It's just right. And what happens is you have one of the greatest offenses you ever see. But the problem is other quarterbacks don't do that. I played with Jabbar and Riche, right? And Taylor Jacob. But we also had Rex. So with Graham in this wide open spread offense world that we live in, right? I just need you to be efficient. I don't need you to be none of these other dudes.
Ben, I don't think he's buying it. I can look at him and see he ain't buying it. He ain't buying it. No, he ain't buying it.
But listen, no. And Chris showed me this. When you're an analyst for a living, we know who Chris is rooting for on Saturday. But I got to tell you what my eyes see. When I look,
I appreciate that.
I'm gonna take off the orange and blue, shades. Just looking at him, I gotta see it because Graham Mertz. Yes, we get that all these teams wanted him, like Dabo Swinney, Kirby Smart, Nick Saban, and the whole thing about it is he chose to go elsewhere, and that's his business.
I got to let Chris go because he's on overtime now. He gets double time at this point in time.
And he's my guy. I'm happy to, dude. It's good to connect here with you boys. I'm with you. I think the game manager tag has been looked at as a negative thing, but I think that's all you need really when you talk about distribution of the football. Why does everybody think Georgia's going to be really good again this year? Why does everybody think Alabama or Ohio State is going to be really good? We don't even know who the quarterback's going to be, but they got so much talent around it. Just don't mess it up. And that's kind of the situation that you need here is finding a way to distribute the football to those weapons that you feel good about, buddy.
Well, roll back the clock 3 years. You're the coach of the Georgia Bulldogs. And I said, I got a guy for you. I'm the offensive coordinator named Stetson Bennett. He's going to be your quarterback. Yeah. You're going to fire me right there, probably. I mean, it works out. So, and I remember a guy who was a walk-on at Florida who was pretty good too, by the way. So, anyway, that'd be Chris Doering. Chris, thank you, buddy. Keep up the good work.
Thanks, guys.
Come back again and take the notes from this as a program and write them down. And then at the end of the year, you'll see, buddy, here the notes are. You're right. Okay. Just
I'm not going to go back and look at those other notes from past years. When
I mean, we all miss a few
this year.
Like I ain't wearing no uniforms like you're doing walking around, okay? Of the opposing teams, LSU and all that stuff.
Yeah,
no,
I believe me, that was not fun.
But you know what? You're a good.
I gotta say to CD before you get out of here. No matter what they say about you, you live up. Listen, you live up to your bets. When I saw you walking in the SMU days, I said, listen, I respect Chris Doering. I would have used the statute of limitations. That thing would have got put on December 31st at 11:02. But I respect you, sir, for doing it. I'm so sick of them LSU boys. They make me sick.
Hey, the first thing, by the way, before I let you go, the first thing that Coach Napier said to me in Nashville when he walked in the room with us is, man, we got to get you out. We got to get you broke that losing streak, man. So I appreciate him acknowledging how tough it's been for me here.
Yeah, he wants to get you out of that uniform like we do. But you know what? I love you, Chris Doering, no matter what uniform you have. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you guys. Benny, see you later, bro.
Sir.
The great Chris Doering. Always good to have him on. Yeah. Well, Ben, let me do a commercial real quick, and we'll get back to business. And we got Franz and Loren coming on. Good to see you, Ben. Stand by for a second. Back after this timeout from Meldon Law.
Jeffrey, what are you doing?
Well, I'm joining the band, of course. Since Meldon Law is the official law firm partner of the Florida Gators, I want to help.
Dad, we're litigators. Let's stick to helping people in the courtroom.
Well, can we still hang out and jam a little bit? At Meldon Law, we won't back down.
What are you looking for from some of these young linebackers as well as transfers that have come into this rebuild position?
Yeah, lower body injury to be determined, but I do think it presents opportunity. Shamar's obviously contributed to our team, played a bunch last year, but that group is very competitive. It's one of the more competitive positions on our team, and we're really excited about that group. The growth we've seen the maturity we've seen. Take a guy like Scooby, who's made tremendous progress. Certainly getting Wingo back from the injury. Then you throw Taraja Mitchell, Manny Nunnery in the mix, and Jaden obviously is a freshman. All those guys have been here, going all the way back to January. So it's a very competitive room, and this is going to allow those guys to get more reps and take full advantage of the situation.
The one thing he said, we all said that the Florida Gators couldn't take was injuries. I mean, they got one. Shamar James, apparently an automobile accident, lower body. You heard Billy talking about him. But he's also talking about some names of people like Scooby Williams and people he thinks that they're very competitive, and he thinks that we are. So this team could be have a little bit more depth than people first thought. Now, you get past too deep, that's another story. So I thought he had a very good press conference today, Ben. He said some interesting things. He talked also about the transfers on the team. I want you to hear what he says about them, okay? Stand by 1 second.
One of the things about our team is that I think this group of transfers in particular, there's a handful of these guys that have tremendous maturity, experience, leadership. There's an awareness. They come in with a different perspective. They see what's positive. They see what's negative. And I think that's been really beneficial for our team. Taraja Mitchell fits into that category, right? So he's been a part of really good teams. And I think he's got a unique perspective, and he's provided leadership there. Wingo's one of the more respected people and players on our team. We all know that. There's others that fit into that. Cam Carroll's got presence. Graham Mertz has presence. R.J. Moten has presence. Those are guys that I think are a little bit older, see things with a little bit more maturity and awareness, and I think that's been beneficial for our team.
All right, so a pretty good press conference today. There was Billy, and there are going to be injuries and things. And, Ben, I don't know what you've been picking up in your intel about up in Gainesville. We'll have Franz on here in a minute. Talk to him, Loren Meadows. Remember we talked to Derek Wingo. And we had him on twice, and we really liked him as a young man. He had some injuries. He hadn't gone on the field, but apparently that's no surprise to us, Ben, he apparently is quite a leader.
He is. I mean, Derek Wingo has had quite the experience as a young man, coming from South Florida, getting coached by Jason Taylor, Hall of Fame. Jason Taylor to come all the way up to Gainesville. Family following him up here. Mom has a sweet shop there, and Derek Wingo understands this. If I'm coming from South Florida all the way up to Gainesville, it's for a reason. And sometimes you have to know that they brought you here for more than just your athletic ability. Having leadership skills has to be nurtured. That has to be taught more than the physical stuff. We know he has the physical ability, but I know with Shamar James going down right now, that puts more on him. But that's football. Everybody needs to understand this about college football, which they don't get. Yeah, you got 85 scholarship guys. Yes, you got a first, second, third, and even fourth team. It's hard to make it out there on Saturday afternoons. It is the most prestigious thing when it comes to college athletics, because it ain't like basketball when you got 15 guys, or soccer when you got you got 85 scholarship dudes and walk-ons. So for guys like Derek Wingo, he understands that the linebacker position was our, taking us away from our D-line, that's where we had the most depth at last year with Ventrell and company. So I just think that when you look at what he's going to have to do now, coaches love situational football. They want to know what they got in a player. I remember my junior year, I was starting middle linebacker against Bam Hardman, who played outside linebacker, had to go to the middle, and it was for the Georgia game. He didn't miss a beat. When they told Bam, you got to move to the middle, he goes, all right, coach. That's it. It wasn't no what. It wasn't. And I think that's the thing. You're a football player, D. Wingo. Whatever the defense, and I know I'm speaking on his behalf, but whatever the defense needs, What makes good football teams is guys that just want to play. I don't care when you need me, coach. I really, really don't. Because when you ain't on the field, you just want to get on the field. And when you do, I just want to be impactful when I get out there. I don't want to play because I've been here longer than the young guys. I don't want to play because I'm a good guy away from the field. So, Shamar, that definitely hurts. But you know, just like I know, buddy, the regular season in the NFL is just like the regular season in college. You're counting healthy bodies at the end of the preseason. At the end of the preseason, we see how many healthy guys we got, and let's see who we going out there on Saturdays with. It's a big blow. We still got a very young defense who's hopefully going to be led by a defensive line with Princely and company. But I just like that we're watching Billy Napier mature too. Remember we said, buddy, we don't want the coach speak. That don't sound like coach speak to me.
No,
That
it doesn't. It doesn't.
That
Yeah.
sounds like,
Good
let me
point.
tell you about our walk-ons. Let me tell you about our transfers, guys we brought in with veteran experience. So we know that the defense led by a very, very young Coach Armstrong who's full of energy, who said we're going to negotiate with a hammer. That's what we're going to do. Meaning you're not going to have to say, are we going to be aggressive on defense? I think we're going to be very aggressive with Kamari Wilson, those guys on the back end, 2 bookend corners. I think that with this Florida team, just like last year, right? And I've seen the video of the quarterback throwing, out there in Utah. They ain't show his lower body. They showed his upper body throwing it.
Cam Rising, yeah.
When there's blood in the water, we got the attack. But I'm always as a guy who came into my senior year real similar to this team. There wasn't really an identity yet. We had to form it during the season. I just like our chances, buddy, because I'm looking at what's coming out. I'm looking at what's coming out of camp right now. I'm seeing how guys are moving around, and I just know we don't know who's going to be the alpha on the defense yet. We know who's preseason this and preseason that. I know who's on these award lists, but I don't know who's going to be the guy on defense that's going to tell all the other 10 guys, listen, guys, follow me. I'm going to
All right, I got a guy for you. And you're going to hear from him. Let's go get Franz. He's here. Get him on board, and then we'll do this. Even to you, Franz. How are you?
Another day in paradise, guys.
Say hello to Ben, and I'm going to play a bite from Princely. I want you guys to tell me what you hear, all right?
To get the number 1 jersey, how that happened for you?
Yeah, so I really wanted it since like my sophomore year. I thought Brandon Cox was gonna leave, like I think it was after my sophomore year or something like that. So I even asked Mullen for it like before that. But I had been asking Napier for it for a while. I even was showing him tweets when fans was saying I should get number 1. And I was like, look, you should, you know what I'm saying? But I was asking him since spring, and I guess he just been watching me, and out of nowhere he had just texted me the number 1, and then so yeah.
What conversation like for you, and are you kind of aware of maybe the significance of the number just historically at UF? Was that part of it?
That was a little bit a part of it. Yeah, I'm aware of that. Like I know as soon as I got it, I seen all the fans talking about it on Twitter, so I know it's a big thing, here at Florida.
Francis, that's a man who wants number 1. I like that, don't you?
Well, I think that everybody has to decide whether they're going to be just good players or great players, and I think the great players want what goes with it. We've associated number 1 for a while here with great players. Reggie Nelson, I'll give you the perfect example. Reggie Nelson was the perfect number 1 at the University of Florida. 2006, there is no national championship without Reggie Nelson playing like number 1. That's a good example. 2008, Percy Harvin, number 1, played like a number 1. And that's the thing about it is they gave Reggie the number 1. They gave Percy the number 1. And they saw it as an honor, and they saw it as a challenge that, okay, if I'm going to wear number 1, I got to be number 1. And I hope that wears off with Princely, because everybody says he has number 1 talent. I think the big issue with him has never been a question of talent, physical talent. I think the question has always been what's between his ears, the desire to be great, not just good.
And in his heart, I think we know what's in his heart now too. But not to interrupt you, but listen, you talked about alpha males, Ben. Looks like an alpha male to me right there, man.
Yeah, Princely is a guy that, I was blessed enough to sit down with him on the podcast, and just him leaving the state of Texas, parents being from Africa, and just understanding. I think all his brothers' name begin with Prince. It's Prince. I think one of them named Prince, and you got Prince Dunn, Prince Lee, but
like George Foreman.
But he wanted number one though, and it's something to say. I go back to 2003. I knew a number one that was pretty good, Keywan Ratliff. He was pretty good wearing that number one, getting the SEC Defensive Player of the Year. And obviously you got, Pearsall on offense. The thing about number one, it is prestigious because you can't hide. You got number one on your chest. It's like saying, well, who is that guy? Like, who is that? And you want to play like it. It's something that Franz just said. I hope you want to be great, because you can't have number one being it comes with a certain level of prestige attached to it. And I can appreciate wanting it, but I don't want it because it look good on Saturdays. I want it because I feel as though that's what I am. That's what I rep. And the number one to me represents I'm going to be the most coachable player. I don't necessarily got to be the last one to leave the facility, but I got to be one of the first in the facility. I got to pick up my teammates. And this is what number one means to me. I am not a front runner. I'm not good when everything is good. I'm good regardless. I'm going to be consistent regardless. And I like that tradition though. I like that tradition because, everybody nowadays, you got people like Big Dez and them wanting to wear, number 20, that's the smallest 21, or either the small 2-1 or a big man wearing 2-1. And I just think that it does build camaraderie. I like that Princely wanted it. But like you, Franz, he got to live up to it. You can't just wear number one because you've been there long and you're a good guy. I need you, and I think he has the highest grade of defensive end coming back to the SEC this year. I think his grade is rated the highest. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But Princely is a good guy. He really, really is. And on a still very, very young defense, to say, hey man, we just like our offensive line gonna lead the way on offense, we gonna need that D line to lead the way. That's gonna make life so much better for two very young safeties, a very inexperienced linebacking core, and two bookend corners. So Princely, I know he's up for it. He got to go out there. He got to go out there and prove it.
France, Billy seems to like the linebacking core. I mean, he didn't even blink at the fact that he lost one of his guys today, and he thinks he's got depth on that. He seems pretty confident. And he said it presents opportunity. Lindell Hudson hurt too as well. So
tomorrow will be back by the Utah game.
Yeah.
And the right way to look at it is at a situation like that is if you're going to have an injury that's going to cost you a couple of weeks, this is the time to have it, because this is the time that somebody else has to step up and get ready to go and be ready in case 2 weeks becomes 3 or 3 weeks becomes 4. So it really is an opportunity. And I'll tell you what I like. I love Taraja Mitchell in the middle. People forget this guy got elected captain by the Ohio State team. He was injured last year, but before the season began, he was elected captain, and they wanted him on every road trip. He was everywhere they went as the team captain. That's a guy that knows what it's like to be there with a great team, to be viewed by his teammates as worthy of being a captain on a great team. That says something about him. Wingo, I'll tell you, Wingo is just impressive. He's the kind of guy that if he wasn't a football player, you'd want to hire him as your guy you're going to train to become the next CEO of the company. I look at him. Princely, people are going to discover Princely knows how to get out in space too. They say edge, and everybody thinks edge. It's all you're going to do is just line up and bull rush, or try to beat the tackle to the edge. But the one thing about it is you got to be able to get out there in space, cover out in the flat, take that tight end on occasion, take that guy coming out of the backfield. And for Princely to come off of a hand in the dirt situation to where now he's out there in space, that says, I'll tell you what it says to me. It says a lot about his dedication in the off season to get ready to be a good football player. He got ready. Manny Nunnery, people forget, 2 years ago, National Special Teams Player of a lot of kicks, gets out in coverage, and he's fast enough to cover tight ends, fast enough to cover that slot guy. I like this team's shaping up better than any of us thought.
I think better. Yeah. Let me just mention, by the way, folks, if you're watching and listening for the first time, especially if you're not on YouTube, please go to YouTube right now and sign up. The Buddy Martin Show, subscribe. We had a really large group of people who are moving there. We're going to eventually move most of our operation to YouTube because it's more user-friendly. So tell your friends and neighbors. The Buddy Martin Show, now heard 4 days a week, will probably be heard 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times a week. Different subjects, whatever. Plus, we got Urban Meyer coming on Friday for Best Fridays in Football. So get ahead of the game. But right now, go over there and sign up for the Buddy Martin Show. Subscribe. We appreciate that. Here's a question, and I see Loren Meadows is online. We'll get him in just a minute. Here's a question from Philip Burney. I'll let you guys have a whack at it. And Loren, if you can see this, read it too. Here you go. All right, who wants to go?
I mean, I would say yes. I would say yes. I would say yes for this reason.
Wait, the people on YouTube. Wait, the people on YouTube can't see that. I'm sorry, I forgot. Let me read it. So my bad. My bad. Philip Burney writes, Buddy, do you guys think the Gators are flying under the radar and will surprise everyone and take off a year or two under Billy Napier? Now go, Ben. Go ahead.
I would say yes, and this is why. Number one, you're going up against the same team you started off with. When he, his first year, you just got to go out there. We'll see what's going on with Mr. Rise and all that. I see the pass. I just don't see his lower body. So that cameraman made sure he kept it waist high when he threw it. But the thing about Florida is this is listen, outside of maybe Spurrier last 2 years and maybe Urban Meyer's, second and third year, Florida's always under the radar. Like this is not new. Florida ain't got it, this and the third. No, I think with a guy like Billy Napier is, look, every good coach in college has been given two things: talent and time. He built the talent, and they gave him time. I know everybody think that Harbaugh is the greatest Michigan coach ever. Well, it took him that long to beat Ohio State. It took him the last 2 years is the first time he beat them. Not to throw shade at Michigan, because I know them fans, they find their way on my timeline.
I want to see if Lauren was awake. I'm trying to see if Lauren's awake. So.
I think, Lauren, you know how it goes. Y'all down there. Listen, man. Listen. I'm from the state of Georgia, live in Georgia, so I got to fight off these barking people. So they always think that they always think that they gonna win in Jacksonville. But no, I think year 2 will be fine. And that 6-6 stuff, I don't see that happening. I see getting the 8 wins, possibly 9. But we go out there to Utah and start off the year like we did 2022. Oh my God, we got a shot to go from a good season to a great season.
Hang on 1 second. Let me go get this tape I've got where we auction off the wins on this program and what we all picked. Okay, I'm keeping records of it. Let me go back here and look and see. I believe you all were involved in this. We auctioned off the number of wins, and we went to 6, and everybody was in. We went to 6.5, everybody was in. Went to 7, everybody was in, and now everybody stopped. Only one guy. Don't turn around, Franz, when I'm telling you this. Only one guy went to 7.5. Who was that, by the way? Hello? Hello? Is this on? Who went to 7.5? Huh? Huh?
Wilton F. Martin.
So don't be talking if you ain't picking, all right? I'm going to call you out, all right? So go ahead. Continue on. All right,
Listen,
go ahead.
listen. No, I'm just saying. Like, I'm gonna talk. Listen, I got no. This ain't even. Listen, this ain't even about the 7.5. I knew you were gonna have just in case you had it on the Tampa Bay Rays. I came ready tonight, so that's what I'm gonna do. I'm coming with my Braves hat.
Can you crop it? Can you crop that picture down a little bit so that thing it's getting in my eyes? It's bothering me. It's making me sick in my stomach.
Listen, I will not wear the same Braves hat. It's gonna be a different Braves hat every Sunday because, buddy, I don't care what you say. You used to root for the Braves.
I never rooted for the Braves. That was the Cardinals. By the way, I thought it was in your contract you had to wear that Smokey the Bear hat you always wear.
No, Smokey the Bear, he's over there. But what I'm saying
but the hat you wore all the time, you're supposed to wear every now according to contract.
No,
you're supposed to have none of that A
Braves,
stuff. You're Alabama. What's that? A for Alabama? What is that? I don't know.
You notice a piece up A-Town down the Braves.
Sure.
Don't you ever disrespect me.
France, bail me out. Don't go to sleep. Bail me out, France.
France is a Yankees fan. Lord have mercy.
It's better than a Braves fan. All right, France, bail me out.
The Braves have the best record in Major League Baseball.
So, hey, wait a minute. The Rays ain't exactly chopped liver. Now, come on. The Rays are pretty good, too. The Rays record's pretty good.
The Rays are pretty good, but you know what? Right now, if I had to pick a team that's going to win the American League, I'd say it's going to be the Houston Disastros.
They just got swept. Hot. They just got lost 2 out of 3. They're Rays, by the way. So
well,
just so you know.
Yeah, but I'll be willing to bet you that the Disastros, who have won 7 of their last 10.
I guess got a big pitcher, so they're a lot better off than they were, but they couldn't beat the Rays last week.
With Kyle Tucker, Kyle Tucker who homered today, and the guy who was going to succeed brother Preston as the next great Florida player before the Disastros paid him $1 zillion to sign. Kyle Tucker, who I think is one of these days going to be the MVP of the American League.
We're acting like we care about baseball, guys. Come on.
Yeah. I used to know. I used to be able to tell you the starting lineup for every team in the major leagues, and right now I probably couldn't tell you the starting lineup for even one team in the major leagues. It's how the game has
France used to be able to run a mile too. Okay.
Well, the game, it's like most of the professional sports. The games have become less interesting to me because and this is what frightens me about the NIL stuff and basically free agency, what we have in college sports now, because it's taking away that idea of loyalty. I think players should have the ability to move. I think they should have the ability to make money, but there's no structure right now, and therefore, what we're winding up with, could put college sports in a place that they'll never recover from, and that's what really bothers me. It's what bothers me about all this realignment stuff. I mean, come on, folks. Do you think people are actually going to stay up at night to watch UCLA and Rutgers play football or watch that fabulous Southern Cal at Michigan State game?
I don't care what they do. I'm going to be watching the SEC. Don't matter to me what they do.
Yeah, but people are going to, my point being is they're destroying the fabric of the game. I give Sankey credit. He's got 12 states. He's got the flagship school in all 12 states. The 12 states are all connected. You're not skipping, like, how many was it? 38 states between Ohio and Los Angeles. I mean, goodness. I mean, you look at the distance that they've got there and so forth. And there's no, there's none of this bit about, for example, Florida, Georgia. They used to call it the border war because right there at the Florida, Georgia line, you could walk across, you could go from Lake City across the line to Valdosta And holy cow, the difference in attitudes just changes, you know. And this is something that Florida sports and Georgia sports have had. This is the thing the SEC's had. Alabama, Georgia, for example, and so forth like this. And college sports are going to survive, don't get me wrong, but you're killing off things like rivalries. I mean, we've already seen what's happened in the SEC when Florida, you know, all of a sudden the Florida-Auburn game. That Florida-Auburn game used to be special.
Well, that was a long time ago, but let me just jump to one thing, not to interrupt.
But it's one of these things that get taken
not to interrupt you, but I want to get to one little thing real quick. And I hear what you're saying. We've discussed this, and I agree with what you're saying. But I wanted to say one thing, two things that I love. I heard Austin Armstrong talk last week. He talked about his defensive players, how they played aggressively. He used a phrase, and he plays with such joy. There's a term we don't ever hear in football, joy. That's what it is, the joy. And I heard a caller from Feinbaum today who was a former linebacker at Auburn. He didn't have a name up. And he talked about all the things going on, the issues of they're killing football, portal, NIL, and whatever. We've all been hammered by this. He said, you know what's great about it? Come the 1st of September, or in our case, the 31st, when they kick it off, none of that matters. None of it matters. It's can you win the football game, all right? And you can talk about all the money and all the stuff. You got to go out and win the football game. If money would buy championships, the Yankees wouldn't be in last place.
Whoa,
Okay,
whoa. You throwing shade today.
No, I'm not. I'm just saying the truth. Who's got the highest payroll?
You've heard me say that. I mean, I've said it a million times, buddy, on your show. I mean, we talk about it. I mean, at the end of the day, the game is pure, man. I mean, all that other fluff and things like that. When you kick it off, man, that's what matters. I mean, you got to make it happen, and that's the beauty of it is the product itself. I mean, like I said, I think Franz is right when you kind of muddy some of those or water down the rivalries and things like that. But for those of us that truly love this game, and I think that's what, Austin Armstrong is talking about when you talk about playing with joy, when you truly love the game and you love every single part of it, from hanging out in the locker room to running out the tunnel to making adjustments on the sideline. I mean, all those things that go into a game and your 11 versus their 11, and let's go and crack skulls for 3.5 hours or whatever, 2.5 hours, and then let's shake hands and go home. And some of us used to play against each other in high school and were high school buddies and grew up together and all those things. That's what keeps the game pure. And I think that's what, it's about is when you talk about playing with joy, it's the fact that you truly love every single part of it, every single play, and everything that goes into the game of football and all that other stuff. And
it don't matter. Once you kick it off, it don't matter anymore.
It don't matter. It don't matter. And so
you're right, Loren. Good point. And you guys, who saw? Did you see The Natural? Who saw The Natural in baseball film? Anybody see it?
Yeah.
Did you see it? One line in there that I'll never forget, and I love it. He said, "God, I love baseball." That passion that you felt that moment, And I know we're looking at 4 guys all who love college football, right? We love college football.
Man, it's different, but it's different. It's past love. We loved it a long time ago. It's something different because, if Franz is in Savannah, Franz gonna try to get something to go because somebody gonna notice him and somebody gonna say these Georgia Bulldogs, and then it becomes because college football is a different. It's almost like we go to the doctor. And the doctor go, yeah, Franz, yeah, lay along, yeah, buddy, you got it. What? You got the itis. What? You still got it. Because college football to me is the ultimate because, like what you said, Loren, man, the last thing on people's mind is saying, that kid make $1 million. That no one's saying that. They're saying, catch the ball. That you forget, quote, that you're watching 18 and 22-year-olds. You forget the stuff you hear in the stands don't sound like, a bunch of grown men watching a bunch of young men. Them colors on their chest, what they got across their it's a different level of obsession, man. It really is, because Saturdays become dictating our whole week. What happens Saturday will decide how Sunday is, Monday is, and we act like you would think at this point we would have gotten used to it. I'm not. It's almost like when people say, "Ben, it's just a game," man. Tell that to somebody, man, who don't know what the hell they looking at. It's supposed to be just a game. It's supposed to be, but it's something different, man. We talk about Billy Napier like we know him, man. Billy, we don't even call him coach. We call him Billy. Billy, what are you doing? And that's what me and BJ Bennett say it every year. I say, BJ, the question is always this: would you rather your team win or your rival team lose? And we always pause. Like the team I can't stand, whoop! That's always and I don't know. It's a different level of obsession with me. And it took me 2 years in the media business to realize. Somebody said, Ben, you can't pick Florida to win every week. What do you mean? You can't just say Florida's gonna win no matter. I said, man, it took me a while to realize that, but it's a different level. It's like, buddy, I do the listen. I do my greatest Franz Beard. I take on any contender in the SEC. I don't care who y'all. Alabama, Tennessee. Really? Joe Milton said we don't lose to Florida. Boy, you ain't never played there yet. What are you talking about? Anyway, I take on all comers and I talk a bunch of trash, and I'm never getting off that hill.
He's preaching. Can I get an amen out there? The pastor's group was preaching again tonight.
My friend, I got a friend. His son is going to Vanderbilt. He said he had the nerve to say, "Hey, man, we come for y'all." I said, "Boy," I said, at the end of the day, what happened with Vanderbilt last year, I feel real confident it's not going to happen 2 years in a row. Because if it does, Billy going to hear from me. I'm just telling you that right now. I don't see it happening. A dead clock is wrong twice a day. Get out of here, man. I don't want to hear that nonsense. So, yes, it is the obsession. And come the first game, this is what I'm going to do. They're going to be getting ready to kick it off. And before they kick it off, I'm going to turn the TV off. Like, God? Because it's like, I don't know what it is. I can't stand it, man. I don't care. I don't got to worry about these guys because they don't lose that much. The Braves don't lose.
Wait a minute. Do I have a boo button on here somewhere? You snuck that within the sermon. Get out of here with that.
They don't.
Oh, man.
Listen, we got a chance to have the first ever 50-50 player. That's 50 homers.
Who's we? You don't play with the Braves. Who's we? You ain't got no we. Not we.
Listen, hold on. Listen, I use we like Georgia beat writers use we. They call it we. I can't stand Georgia beat writers. They are the absolute worst.
Now he's preaching again. All right, Lauren, bail him out here. Come on. I'm going to get you and Brother Franz are going to preach the final word here.
No, I just, like you said, you talk about the love of the game and Ben, you may know a little bit about it, but I know Franz does. To go in and, play Division III football in the OAC, the Ohio Athletic Conference, where you might look over. I remember one time lining up and it was cows in the pasture next to the football field on the sideline. So,
I've been in those kind of games.
Yeah, just the purity of the game as a whole. It's like he said, it's what we fell in love with. It's an infatuation, and it is hard because, and as more than anybody, for me, it's hard to sometimes step away and be be unbiased in your opinion, and like I said, pick another team other than Florida when you're writing an analysis and things like that. But like I said, I just think it comes down to, all these things are good. And like I said, I love the fact that Florida is ranked, at least third in the 2024 recruiting cycle and, doing a lot of good things, and you see things and those. But at the end of the day, and like I said, the one thing I kind of caution, or at least I've been a little harder on Billy Napier is you got to coach your football team, man. And that's, when you see things that sometimes, give you pause of where this thing may be headed, it just, we'll see. But, at the end of the day, it's it's a blocking, it's a tackling, catching, throwing game. It's a pretty simplistic game when you get down to it. And, Florida's going to have to make some plays this year to kind of offset those close ball games that they lost last year. They got to come out a little bit on top of the others. But, you think about guys like Austin Armstrong, the fire they bring, Rob Sale and his meticulous nature. And then, like I said, I think the addition of Billy Gonzalez is really going to pay dividends for this football team late in games when a play needs to be made, because I really think he instills in those receivers a confidence and in really going to make that play. But also he brings a lineage that goes back to some of Florida's greatest receivers and guys that really made plays in big time games. So, I think I don't see 5. I see about, like I said, 7 to 8 wins, which I think would be a vast improvement over last season.
We got plenty of time to adjust that along the way, but you're right. We'll see what they got. Franz, for you and I, the joy of going to the game, I used to have a partner who used to say, buddy, it's not the game, it's going to the game. For me to get in my car and drive to Gainesville and go up the old 441, 301, and all through those little small towns, Micanopy, whatever, and watch the leaves change during the football season, to get there, and although it's a little harder than it used to be, we didn't have to park in Micanopy to get to the stadium, it's always a certain little tingle, even in my old age, I get when I go up there. And it is going to the game still. I can't wait for the first home game. Francis, take us home.
Well, football's a different game than any other game. It is the one game that I don't care how good you are, you better have 10 guys who are playing with you and for you. It's not like baseball. A fly ball goes to center field. You have nobody to help you. You got to do it yourself. The pitch comes in 90 miles an hour and you got a runner on second. You got to hit the ball, etc. Basketball, hey, if I'm 7 feet tall and 280 pounds and the guy playing against me is 6'8" and 190, guess who wins every time? Football's not like that. Football, 11 guys have to work together. Not only that, you better have 11 guys on the other side defensively who work together. And behind them, you better have another 70 guys working together who are part of that team. And I think that's the thing that attracts us so much about football, is that it is a team game. I remember Urban Meyer, one of the first things he said was, I can watch a ball game, and in 5 minutes, I know where the weak spot is. I know if that left guard is having a bad day, I'll know it in 5 minutes, and I'll know that's where I got to attack, etc. like that. It might have something to do with the fact that Urban won about 300 games and lost 14 in his career or something like that. He didn't lose too many times. But good coaches are like that. But that's the thing about the game, that there's no place to hide the weak link. I can put a guy in as a DH who can't catch a baseball. I can make him the DH. I can make a guy that can't last 6 innings. I can make him a relief pitcher who can go in and throw 9 pitches 100 miles an hour. There's so many ways to hide it, but there's no place to hide in football. And I think that's the real joy of it. And I think that's always been the attraction for us, is that it is the ultimate team game. And because it's the ultimate team game, I think it is the ultimate team game for fans as well, the passion that they have. No other game is like that, where, my gosh, people plan their entire year around 6 weekends. And they come to a place, they got their food already set. You go to a place like the Grove at Ole Miss, where people, are shopping. They're shopping in March for what they're going to put on the table as far as silverware and plates.
Candelabras.
In October. It doesn't happen like that in these other sports. I'm not taking anything away from them, but football is different because of that.
Yeah.
And this is why I get particularly burned up when I see these long-standing rivalries busted up. It's why I don't want to see Florida Georgia leave Jacksonville. I mean, there are people every year I go there. I walk by the same people. How you doing, friends? And I haven't seen them in a year. And they're in that same parking space they've been for all this time, and they look for me. And there's something special about that. I get in the press box, and here comes Claude Felton. I worked with Claude in Savannah years ago, best SID in history, even if he is a Georgia poodle. You know, I look at things like this, and I hate. This is why I hate it when I see traditional rivalries go, because football inspires these things. Because of football, I've got this friendship with this guy, Buddy Martin. And we met at golf, but it's football that's always been the glue for us. Jack Hairston, my mentor, football was the glue. Jack could tell on Jack's deathbed, he's telling me every starting pitcher, winning and losing pitcher.
I was with you. We stood with him as he was dying several nights. You were there more than me, but I remember that well.
Every World Series winner and loser since 1950, he could tell you. But yet, at the same time, there was only one sport, and that was football. And Jack could talk football. You know, that we once did a parody of him in the Gainesville Sun, because everybody knew how Jack was just so into it and everything like that. And then somebody in the composing room did jock straps. And said the Florida jockstrap sizes through the years, and had it like 1975 they're like this, 1990 they're 1981 they're like this. It was hysterical, and Jack loved it. He really did, because that was his thing. Football brought that out of him, and nothing brings it out of us like that. That's why Gator Bait, I can write 10 basketball stories, and quite frankly, I'm not bragging about it, but I'm as good a basketball writer as you'll find.
You are.
But guess what? I can write 10 basketball stories, and people go, oh, not bad. I can write one football story, and they don't like it, and I'll hear for it for 3 weeks.
There you go. All right. Well said, Francis. We're going to go out with this real quick. Round the horn, 15 seconds. The thing you're looking forward to the most, player, coach, or scheme on this year's Florida team. Ben, what you got?
I'm looking forward to our defense that's finally going to get a chance to be aggressive. You talk to him the word joy, that means that he sat down when Coach Armstrong said, instead of making a bunch of guys on defense adjusting my scheme, I'm going to be the one guy that adjusts to them. So I'm looking forward to seeing an attacking defense to go along with a run-heavy offense.
You took mine. I was going to do Austin Armstrong's defense, but go ahead, Loren.
Graham Mertz reaches his potential as a quarterback with the Florida offense. I'm looking forward to that. Looking forward to seeing him play well. I think he will play extremely well. I think he's a lot more cerebral than people give him credit for, and I think that'll pay dividends for the offense.
Franz.
Ricky Pearsall. I think this guy, there's just something about him. He is one cocky little rooster out there. You know, you look at him. He's not a little guy, but he looks little compared to everybody else. But there's a cockiness about him. And I think this is going to be the year that he is going to be, he's going to be blowing by people and making the big plays. And I think this is why he came back.
Great stuff, guys. Orange and Blue Bloods Thursday. Don't miss it. Don't forget to go to YouTube, subscribe. We're back at you again here in a couple of days. And don't forget next Thursday. Great job, Franz, Loren, Ben. Good night.
Yes, sir.
Good night.
All right, folks, thanks for watching and listening. Thanks again for your support. Well, for our sponsors, I want to be sure and tell you about WinStar again. I like to end the night talking about these people because they're so very special and have been in my life for a long time. Not just because they're great patrons downtown, they're stakeholders in our city. They have great heritage with their Gator heritage. Joe Sorrentino, who played for the Gators, Urban Meyer, his dad, Joe, and Mary Brantley, wife of Scott. They run and own this WinStar, and they have their hearts in the right place. I'll tell you again about what they do health-wise. This is just scratching the surface. One night we'll tell you more. But they have this terrific patient-centered clinical research facility. They bring cutting-edge clinical research trials to Ocala in areas like Alzheimer's, dementia, psoriasis, osteoarthritis, migraines, fibromyalgia. How many people you know that have some of that? I know people who got those things, and especially as you get older. You want to know more about it? Well, you can count on WinStar. Since 1998, they've held over 700 clinical research trials to find out how to better treat us. They continue to partner with prominent pharmaceutical and biomedical companies throughout the medical industry. If you want to be a part of these trials, go on winstar.net and look them up, and you'll find out how you could qualify for it. In some cases, you get compensation for time and travel. Thanks again to our special guest tonight, Chris Doering. Good to see him, of course. Ben, Franz, and Loren. Have a good night. See you next week.